little different view today because we're actually coming from my office. And that was because I wanted to be able to have a couple very sciencey resources. So I actually went to school in college. I actually did a master's degree in cattle nutrition, specifically feedlot, so fattening of the cattle. But, so all my resources are down here. The one book from that time period that I probably pull out more than anything is actually this one. It's the nutritional requirements of beef cattle. Again, it is specified because beef cows are different than dairy cows in a lot of different ways, but biggest one being nutritionally. And if you mess it up, you can mess up a lot of things. But the main reason I bring this and I wanted to be down here is because I wanted to be able to have this to show you the charts. I've kind of touched on them in other videos on past. They do have these for chickens. They have these for sheep. I just don't use them enough. At the time I bought this, I was looking at maybe doing a lot of ration balancing where this was going to be very useful. The other reason I have this one, and I probably consult it the most, is because I do go back and look at it for the sheep. Not for their requirements, but because in it there are charts. This is all the different feedstuffs and how it breaks down into the different nutrient requirements. So what it has for, this is actually amino acids on that page. But the forage, the dry matter, the lignin, which is a type of fiber, all of that, it breaks it all down. And I use that to then balance the sheep rations. So I've used that a couple times, just troubleshooting different issues we've had with our sheep. I've used it on the cows. Occasionally, we actually pay somebody to do this, to formulate the rations, because I can do it. If I do it more frequently, I could be really good at it. But I don't, and I really don't enjoy it that much. So it's one of those things I can do, but I don't like to. So we pay somebody else to do it, who's way more proficient at it and has a lot more resources as far as being able to get different ingredients. But the main part was in the back. So the front 3/4 of this is all the different science studies of the nutrition. The back quarter is the charts that I really like, and I like having hands-on things instead of always having to look things online. I've said in past videos, yes, you can go online and look those up. If it's something I'm looking up a lot, I've just printed off, honestly. But, so this honestly shows the best how things change through time. So, today our main topic, we're 3 minutes in, sorry, is how those nutrient requirements change for cows versus finishing cattle versus weaning calves, and all of that. So if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, actual science numbers, comment below, message me, and I can get you in touch with the actual numbers. But in general, we're going to kind of talk in general because most people are probably not going to dive into the science here. Okay? It's fun to do occasionally. Every day you really don't need to. So, nutrient requirements for beef cows. In general, calves need milk, obviously, until they're weaned. If you are bottle feeding, check the, sorry, I got an itch. If you're bottle feeding, check the requirements on the bag, and it'll usually give you guidelines of when the earliest to wean is. Most of the time with bottle calves, we talked about this a lot, you're going to want to push them to creep feed as fast as you can. Some people will argue with me, but on the financial side of it, you want them eating grain as fast as you can get them to. Yeah. We talked about that more with the bottle calves a month ago. Go back and find that video. Or message me and I'll shoot it over to you. Once they're weaned, You want to start them mostly on grass, hay. If you, again, we're talking if you don't have access to pasture here, okay? Let's just throw that blanket out there. You don't have access to your own pasture. If you have access for part of the time, great. Utilize that. We talked about that kind of like where the forage peaked, I think, on the sheep video. But we're talking confined here, like, or at least partially confined. So once they're weaned, grass, usually long stem hay, is your best bet. Why? It's something familiar. It gets them chewing. Chewing creates saliva. It helps decrease the stress hormones, helps buffer the stomach, the rumen. It feeds the bacteria. It keeps everybody just kind of happy. Weaning is a very stressful time. It doesn't matter what species you are. Humans don't like it either. It just is what it is. So having that familiar feed that's easy to chew, they know what it is typically. It's not something different. They're going to go to it, they're going to eat it, they're going to start chewing, they're going to settle down. Okay, you're through the weaning. After that, they're done bawling, they've kind of calmed down. You're actually going to start stepping them up on grain. So again, if you are doing just, it's 1 or 2 head, go with the John Deere diet. Corn, if you have a way to crack it, it's better for them. They'll be able to get more nutrients out of it. Don't grind it fine, just crack it for them. Otherwise, like, they can't eat whole corn. They're just going to not get as much nutrients out of it because that shell just protects it. For some reason, sheep can break it down, cows can't. It's just the way their mouth is designed, they just break stuff easy, different. What was I thinking? So yeah, start them up on grains, start them slow, and then just keep building it up on the John Deere diet. If you have the ability, you're feeding a bigger pen, you have an ability to actually do a TMR ration with them. Typically, you're going to start introducing something like distillers. There's going to have some corn in there, and probably like a silage and a mineral mix. Why silage compared to alfalfa? It's cheaper. Alfalfa is kind of expensive to grow. It's kind of really expensive to buy, especially when you get into the higher grades of alfalfa. For beef cows, you can get away with a first, second cutting of the poor quality, especially if you're mixing it into a ration. Honestly, and if you're mixing it into a ration, find something even cheaper. Corn stalks. I wouldn't do soybean, but like just ground roughage. Basically, what you're looking for is what we call a scratch factor. You're needing something to stimulate the rumen, the bacteria in the rumen, to keep growing, keep producing, to keep something for the cows to regurgitate, chew again, swallow. And they do that over and over. That's really all you're looking for a forage. So it can be the crappiest stuff you can find, especially if you're mixing it into a different ration that has the protein, that has the starches, that has the energy, all of that. You don't want to get too high on starches because you will actually cause them to go acidic, and you get something called acidosis, which can lead to all sorts of other problems. Yeah, if you want more on that, like, shoot me a message. We'll go down that rabbit trail. You're doing the John Deere diet, you cannot get by with those crappier roughages because your corn is lacking the protein they need to grow. So you've got to have that alfalfa for the protein source. Is that kind of making sense? We're balancing protein and energy of corn versus all the other ingredients. In a cow, they're really easy. A beef cow is going to need hay, and that's pretty much it. Even our cows, when we do have to lock them up off of growing season, they're getting hay and a little bit of distillers, basically to mix it all together and get them to eat it. And it's not even good quality hay. and they're getting a mineral mix too. What this is doing is basically get enough of them, and this is during their dry period. So all they're doing is growing a calf. They're not trying to grow themselves. They're not trying to lactate. They are just growing a calf. The critical time period in a cow, especially that 3-year-old cow, and this is different than sheep, okay? Because sheep have a much shorter gestation period. Cows are more of a 9-month gestation period, so they're actually still lactating, feeding a calf while they're trying to get bred. And in the 3-year-old case, they're still trying to finish growing. So that requires a whole bunch of energy. If you have, again, an increasing plan in nutrition for them, that's going to help them get bred. Most cows will fall out in that the herd in that 3-year-old second calver range because they fail to get bred for whatever reason. So making sure that they have enough protein, enough energy is a big one because it takes a lot of energy to grow, to milk, and to get bred, and then grow a calf. So you got 3 really big energy requirements there. So that at that point the ration changes to increase more protein, a little bit more corn or something for energy. We've even fed them Milo. Kind of just whatever we can pick up cheap. Okay, you've weaned the calf. Now her nutrition plane comes back down. She's just growing in that really rough diet. She calves. This is why most people calve in the spring, because grass is green and it's lush and it's very nutritious. Okay, it matches. If you're in grass stage, match your calving with your resources. Period. Doesn't matter where you are. So when they're going to need the most energy, with the exception of that 3-year-old, is in that first part of lactation. Okay? Sorry, you can't see my hands. That first part of lactation. They're going to have the highest energy requirements. So, I think I covered everything. Not as fast as speed as I was wanting to, but there's a lot of rabbit trails in there. So, if you are wanting more, join the group. It'll be linked below here. It's free. I go into a lot more details in that group. Yeah, and I can answer a lot more detailed questions in there. Talk to you later.